Come and watch till the end. Mia kicks Samantha out of her room when the party ends. She invites a gentleman and asks Samantha to return after 2 hours. Samantha agrees, astonished. She watches TV in the living room when 2 men approach. They invite her to their yearly plunge in a swimsuit. Samantha gladly accepts the offer. She starts school tomorrow. All the students gaze at her there. One of the men makes a joke after the lecturer begs them to focus. Samantha relaxes when everyone laughs. Samantha chases the gentleman after class and praises him for saving her. He leaves after chatting with her. Samantha warms to him. Mia suddenly joins her and tells her the man is incredibly good-looking and that she should date him. Samantha laughs and they leave. They attend the plunge, a frat party. Mia enters with style. She merges fast. Samantha sits in a corner staring at everyone, feeling out of place. The president's entrance song plays and a number of males dance in front of her. They move seductively, shocking Samantha. Mia is furious as everyone applauds. She dislikes Samantha's attention even when she is doing nothing. One person has a pistol. Bach and his squad instantly attack him. Some bodyguards take Samantha while others interrogate the guy. He had a water cannon all along. Samantha storms to her father's office after this. She does not care if everyone is shocked by her little swimming suit. Liz attempts to soothe her, but Samantha wants to see the president. He is busy when Liz goes to fetch him. Samantha threatens to flee forever. Liz informs the president Samantha is unhappy. He eventually leaves his conference to see his daughter. After seeing Samantha in such scant attire, he acts normal and says nothing. Samantha moans about everything when she sees him. She says she cannot establish friends because of the Secret Service agents following her. The time. Her father encourages her to bear it since the election is coming and her life may be in jeopardy. Samantha yells in frustration and leaves. President Mackenzie grants her request after realizing how much this has affected her. Samantha squeals as Liz delivers the good news. She returns to her room relieved. The following day, Samantha just has 2 security who follow her from afar. Samantha and Mia pass a large demonstration against President Mackenzie. The leader claims the Mackenzie family is affluent and only understands how to run away from issues. Samantha declines the argument. Samantha says they have free speech when Mia invites her to talk. Mia scoffs and takes her away to have fun. On a slide, Samantha doubts Mia's advice to have fun. Mia leaps and slides down the slope while everyone cheers. Sam is inspired. She meets the person she thanked previously. She and James introduce themselves again. Mia slides down after James and Sam leave on the ramp. Everyone has fun. Liz calls Samantha the following morning, enraged. Sam's leaping and sliding images became viral. Liz scolds Sam for his irresponsibility and claims the president is furious. After hearing that, Mia rolls her eyes and urges Sam to hang up, but Sam persists on talking to her father. Mia grabs the phone as Samantha's father chastises her for abusing her independence. She lectures President Mackenzie about parenting. He ignores her, anger and manipulates her. Mia is thrilled when he appreciates her charisma. She hangs up smiling pleased. After Samantha laughs, Mia says the president is excellent at his job. Reporters question Sam the following day. Protesters yell at her too. While Samantha flees upstairs, Bach and Dylan struggle to keep the media away. She knocks on the door and begs Mia to allow her in, but receives no answer. Desperate, she goes into the RA's room and sees James. He is RA James' plans once Samantha informs him about the protests. He requests her wear his huge sweater and headgear. She agrees immediately. The hoodie and hat conceal them, and they flee. Protesters and Bach do not recognize Samantha. They chat at a pizza establishment. Puff laugh and jest. Sam knows she likes James. She re-sniffs his hoodie. They then compete in IQ. They trade fascinating information and are equally gifted. This continues until an elderly woman approaches. She requests a photo with Sam, the president's daughter. Samantha enables her, but the media soon discovers her. James tugs her away as they chase her for a photo. To avoid the journalists, the two run through narrow streets. They enter a cinema. They are unrecognizable since it is dark. Samantha says she has never had so much fun, and James urges her to violate the rules more. Samantha's affections for him grow while they watch the movie. Samantha prefers hiding in James' room at night, while her guards stand outside. They converse about beautiful things all night. Sam tells Mia everything in the morning. She says she likes James but is not sure whether he does. Maya writes a letter to James requesting to meet under Sam's identity to find out. Sam is delighted and thinks about him. Friday night, students start a massive campus bonfire. Mia and Sam attend expecting James. James is absent from a massive celebration. Samantha tells Mia that he probably felt awful for her and does not like her, but Mia reassures her that he simply needs time and would come around. Mia stares and smiles at a man. Samantha wonders what is up, and Mia says she has loved that guy since middle school. They went to school together, so she eventually asked him out. She is scared since he reciprocated. Sam congratulates Mia as he approaches. He talks to Samantha instead of Mia. Mia flees in pain. Samantha feels bad as the gentleman chases Mia to chat to her. Mia immediately arranges a massive party in her room. Mia giggles while her buddies tease Samantha. She scrawls on Sam's family photo. Samantha arrives in time. She had fun, but notices Mia doodling. Family photographs. Mia informs her this is not functioning when she asks. She says Sam is nothing remarkable and only receives attention because of her father. Sam calms her, but Mia becomes angrier. She urges Samantha to speak out instead of blindly obeying commands. Thus they fight. The dispute escalates into yelling. Mia runs into her room and closes the door as Samantha takes the images and leaves. James discovers Sam sleeping outdoors on the sofa the following morning. He awakens her and asks what happened. Samantha acknowledges that her status screwed people up. Sighing, she says her life will never be normal. James assures her that is okay. Sam nods as he apologizes for not meeting her. She mocks her inactivity. Samantha blushes as James jumps. James asks her out, and they slip out of the campus without her guards to date. They discuss their experiences in a lakeside boat. James eventually tells Sam that his father has never been proud of him, and all he has done is satisfy him. Samantha understands James, and their date goes well. They visit a neighboring amusement park at night. Samantha says she likes him and can be herself with James. James returns her sentiments, and they play games. James gives Sam a gift after winning a match. She is glad James defeated her and did not let her win only to satisfy her. Sam recognizes James' tiny actions to make her smile all night. They return to their dormitories once the day concludes. They nervously stroll through the corridor. After chatting, they split. Samantha feels left out. She approaches James and shouts out. James turns and she kisses him. Sam rushes to her room after they say goodnight. She eagerly informs Mia she kissed James with her eyes closed. She wakes up to Mia kissing a man. Sam apologizes for the commotion and starts to go, but Mia urges her to remain. Mia begs him to go and hugs Samantha tightly. Samantha apologizes for her annoyance and smiles. She tells Mia she realizes how difficult living with her is. Mia laughs and takes her. An energetic girl answers her door knock. After seeing Sam, the girl screams and squeals. Linda, Mia's initial roommate, is the girl. Linda stops them and plays her trombone. Samantha and Mia stare uneasily. Linda laughs and cries nonstop. She plays trombone constantly. Samantha and Mia exchange knowing glances and express their gratitude for finding one another. Roommates reconnect. Samantha approaches Liz for help the next morning. Wak and Dylan invite Mia and James. They are puzzled. Sam appears in front of a massive plane. Samantha grins at their questions. All three board the aircraft when she invites them. Guards surround them as they enter. Charles commands them. Charles brings them to a private aircraft room to meet their wants. Mia flirts with Charles quickly, laughing. Samantha praises Mia and James for being patient inside. Mia's nails are painted by Marjorie. James feels embarrassed seeing so many people racing about him. Samantha tells him their location is a surprise. They arrive and meet world-famous designer Vera Wang. Samantha informs James that a tuxedo will suit him. Finally ready, the three attend a ball. Press hounds them there. James feels awkward while Mia enjoys the attention. Samantha rushes to her parents as they enter the huge ballroom. James salutes as Mia enthusiastically meets the president and first lady. James interrupts Samantha's boyfriend introduction and welcomes them. Sam's parents leave to welcome visitors after meeting her pals. Samantha is outraged but shrugs it off. She takes James dancing. James requests a private conversation and Sam agrees. Samantha is transfixed by him as he asks what she is doing. She enjoys everyone glancing at them. Sam resists James' invitation to talk privately. Two elegantly dance. Sam says she has always wanted to do this. She is finally doing what she wants. James joins in. The room is awestruck by the young pair. President Mackenzie then speaks on stage. Party starts with clapping. Dancing and joy ensue. Even James appears more relaxed. Mia likes her date. Sam answers press inquiries at the conclusion, but demonstrators attack her. A huge automobile smashes dangerously near to her, causing mayhem. James grabs Sam and dashes inside the ballroom. He drives her to a hidden chamber with a vehicle. James informs Samantha that they have already abducted Mia. Help her. James grabs his walkie-talkie and puts her in the vehicle. At that moment, Samantha understands everything was a lie. James was only a covert agent. She is heartbroken because everything she thought was normal was phony. Finally led home, her dad wonders whether she is alright. Samantha had enough. She attacks him, saying she feels ashamed for being so stupid and clueless. President Mackenzie apologizes, saying he did everything to protect her. He informs her that he receives hundreds of threats against her every day and cannot let anything happen to his daughter. Sam cries. As her father urges her not to worry, she cries. If she wants, he will remove James. Samantha cares for James but is frustrated because no one has been honest with her. She does not want him fired. She tells her father James can remain. Samantha returns home, unhappy. Mia awaits her. She tells her everything, even how no one has loved her for being Samantha, not the president's daughter. James likes her, Mia says. He loved her despite working. Samantha considers it dumb and says James did that to persuade her. Mia's idea follows. To make James jealous, she suggests Sam date someone else. If he does, people will know he really likes Sam. Samantha acts normal the next day. She is not upset. James, like her guardians, stands close to her. James praises Samantha for not firing him after he deceived her as she eats lunch. Sam nods dismissively. James says he regrets tricking her, but Sam puts on her earbuds and insists everything is okay. She then does everything to make him envious. He watches Samantha go on many dates. She attempts to demonstrate James she is unaffected. She meets a man in a provocative attire one night. She becomes drunk and flirts with her date. James asks Bach and Dylan to take her, but they refuse. Samantha then dances madly on a table. Mia senses Sam's mental state and begs Bach to remove her. James feels irritated when they do nothing. He strikes the cheerleader and takes Samantha. He rejects Sam's pleas to put her down. James encourages her to behave when she says she no longer trusts him. He wants to work correctly. James assures her she is not like this after the catastrophe makes him furious. His Sam was not her. Samantha says she is alone. James brings her to her dorm without responding. He kisses her forehead and puts her on the bed before departing. Samantha hates this. She scolds him for acting. She says he can stop lying. James tells her she is great and leaves, but Sam stops him. She says he harmed her deeply. James expresses himself. He says he has nothing for her. He says that she is not his. Samantha rolls her eyes and wonders what would have happened if she had been an average girl. Samantha continues asking James, who evades. He says he would have liked her if she were an average girl. She never will be. James says he cannot help liking her. This response stuns Samantha. Reporters crowd Sam's dorm the following morning. She received non-stop calls from Liz after her dance on the table became viral. Mia answers all calls as Samantha sleeps. After waking up, she apologizes to Mia. Mia praises her crazy dancing and offers her the phone. Liz chases Samantha when she answers the phone. The president refuses to talk to her father. He refuses to speak to her. Multiple Sam and James news stories circulate. Sam visits James but finds him replaced. Her agency was new. This disappoints and guilts her. Sam takes her morning class, James absent. Her and James are constantly discussed, which bothers her tremendously. She runs to clear her brain, but breaks down crying midway through the track. Her condition saddens the guardians. Sam comes home to discover her mother seated on her bed. Her mother informs her that her little table dance definitely swayed the voting and attempts to explain that Sam always needs to act with elegance and class since that is their life. Sam protests, but her mother shuts her off. She says she will not quarrel or fight. The First Lady orders Sam to quit college immediately and join the campaign. Sam had no option but to agree. She returns home and tries to appear normal, but it is not. Her parents no longer talk to her, and their pleasant activities are gone. She joins the campaign and pretends they are the ideal family. After Samantha leaves college, James is furious. His recklessness jeopardizes his employment, so a board of officers questions him. They insult him and question why he should keep his job. James defends himself, but the board blasts him for jeopardizing Samantha's life. James is suspended and urged to consider other jobs since he may lose his. Sam regains her composure and acts pleased in one advertising. President Mackenzie approaches. He says he understands she is sad but cannot assist her right now. Sam must then behave maturely. Samantha rebels against her father. She says she has fulfilled all their wishes. After understanding they needed her, she quit college and joined him. Sam replies that he must stop stalking her if he wants her to behave like an adult. She leaves. She is correct, and the president calms down. He is glad she is speaking out, but watching his daughter in misery breaks his heart. After being suspended, James drives home as the president and first lady finally campaign on stage. He is obsessed with Sam. The president thinks over his daughter's words at home. She is usually around him, but no one's asked her what she wants. After that, he pays more attention to Sam and sometimes seeks her opinion. He brings her a chocolate cake, and they eat it together. Sam asks her dad to check on James. After agreeing, the president asks her whether she loves him. Samantha grins and says she loves being herself with him. She assured him she could enjoy him without worrying about her reputation. Samantha's dad pays attention. Sam says she loves James, and her father grins. Sam's father wins re-election. Everyone applauds this good news. A massive Mackenzie family celebration is held. Samantha and President Mackenzie dance. Mia stands with her lover. She encourages Sam with music. Samantha tells her father she loves and feels at home with him while dancing. Emotional, her father kisses her cheeks. Samantha notices James behind her as he twirls her. He is in uniform again, shocking her. President Mackenzie leads James to the ballroom center and leaves. James approaches Samantha and clutches her waist. James dismisses Samantha's protests. He dances with her. Sam becomes free, and they forget everything else. Dance all night and find serenity. Liz and Bach grin. James apologizes for everything and gives her a key after the dance. He says the key will take her on her next vacation. Samantha is puzzled but accepts and says goodbye. James bids farewell and she leaves. Samantha flees the ballroom but regrets her error. James realizes he loves Sam at that moment. They chase each other. James initiates a passionate kiss as they stand face to face. Sam kisses back, and they get entangled. James guards President Mackenzie. Samantha departs after requesting that he take care of her father. Dylan informs James that Sam will return after spring break as she leaves. He bids James well in his new position and tells him not to fall for the president. Samantha contemplates James as she leaves the ballroom. She sees a little automobile ahead. Sam is thrilled since she has always desired a vehicle instead of huge ones driven by professional warriors. She drives to college excitedly. She discovered home after leaving home. Sam goes to college while James guards the white mansion and waits for her return. The end. Hi sexy, come and watch till the end. Titan International's 400,000-gallon Palacios, Texas oil leak damaged the Gulf Stream and a local fishing village. Fishing is impossible since the local fish are deformed and worthless. Since fishing is their major industry, this is awful. Many unemployed fishermen clean the water on their boats. This harmed Sharko, a former boater. A dispersant blast from an aircraft caused him to dizzy and fall off his boat while cleaning it. This caused chemicals to appear on his face. He now has scars on half his face, an oxygen tank extension, and a blind eye. Due to a handicap, he can no longer work as a fisherman, although he was known as Sharko since he caught enormous fish and white sharks. Sharko spends his leisure time collecting oil-killed animals on the seashore and delivering them to Titan International's headquarters via snail mail so they may stink up. He also enjoys drinking at the fisherman's dive pub. One day, a fisherman claims that a school of mermaids surrounded his boat and attacked him, but no one believes him despite his odd stomach wounds. When the fisherman returned to the sea, Sharko speaks out. He believes there will be no more catches, so quit lying to yourself. Titan International deployed aircraft that dropped chemicals to seem helpful, but it would be foolish to expect more today. The senator who declared on national radio that they were working on it has had a lot of support from Titan International. So he is lying to make himself seem good and go to the White House. Sharko is irritated after the chat and sits in his vehicle to calm down. Breezy wants Sharko's unused boat, but Sharko vividly recalls the last time they attempted to work together. Breezy kept him waiting for 2 hours, and Sharko had to discover that Breezy had been detained. As Breezy yells at him, Sharko drives away. Sharko drinks in front of the TV every night. He turns on the radio to hear what other fishermen are doing when he misses the sea and cannot sleep. Sharko feels too enraged to hear that it is a great beach day. He departs instead. Sharko tosses an oily fish into his pickup on the seashore. He leans closer to investigate a shriek from the rocks as he prepares to depart. The mermaid is oil-covered. Sharko pokes the mermaid with a tree branch to check on her. Sharko covers her corpse under a cloth and carries it home. He struggles to pull the mermaid and his oxygen tank inside, but he succeeds. He fills the tub with ice and puts the mermaid in it while listening to the radio again, as he would to keep fish alive. Other fishermen have caught fish, but they are all shattered and unusable. Sharko looks in the mirror and covers his scars to recall his pre-injury appearance. Sharko dances around the house after catching a mermaid. The phone interrupts him. Another lawyer wants to help him sue Titan International. Sharko hangs up immediately because he does not want to repeat his sorrow for money, and no trial would restore him to his previous life. Sharko hears a peculiar sound from the restroom while drinking and watching TV in the evening. He discovers the mermaid alive and struggling to escape the tarp. Sharko grabs his pistol after closing the door. The mermaid leaps on him again. The mermaid bites Sharko's arm during their floor combat. Luckily, he brought a rope to rewrap her and bind her to the tub. Sharko raises his rifle at her and considers murdering her. But music in his ears makes him drop his gun. Sharko buys plenty of meat the following day. He cleans the mermaid's lungs with Q-tips when he comes home. He feeds her his various meats. After cutting a hole in the net, Sharko feeds the mermaid raw steak. He promises to return for supper after using the restroom. Sharko hears the tune in the restroom while watching TV at night. He brings the TV into the bathroom to watch a program with the mermaid. Sharko quotes bonanza phrases at the mermaid. This program helped his father learn English. Sharko falls asleep in the tub, unaware that the mermaid has been touching him. Sharko awakens at night to a peculiar sound. He finds Breezy has broken in and stolen the radio in the kitchen. Sharko threatens to contact the police, which angers Breezy. He destroys the radio and yells at Sharko for not giving him the boat. The bathroom sounds stop him. Breezy can navigate around Sharko and discover the mermaid in the tub. Breezy is thrilled about how much money they might earn by selling her, but Sharko says he is waiting for the water to grow cleaner before dumping her back in. Planes are halted when Breezy warns you that you cannot keep a mermaid in the pool. He takes equipment and builds a mermaid-sized glass aquarium in Sharko's living room the following morning. Sharko informs Breezy that his father taught him to take pleasure in one's profession. In return, Breezy shows him his father's smoking scars. He thinks the mermaid will help him prove himself. Sharko must warn him not to talk about her, or they will abduct her. Sharko suggests they be captain and deckhand again to calm Breezy. After the last rejection, Breezy is unsure, but Sharko informs him that he has always been harsh on him as a boss because he treats him like a son, as his father taught him. Breezy believes Sharko and is pleased to have a new father figure. Sharko fills the glass aquarium with water and drops the mermaid in after Breezy departs. She loves swimming again. Sharko prepares their evening meal. Since he loves the mermaid, he adds flowers and music. Sharko feeds the mermaid a raw steak and sits in front of the tank to eat while telling her about his dad. Due to Texas anti-immigrant policies, he struggled to obtain a job. Sharko saw his father shoot the Klan away from their home when he was a toddler. Sharko has struggled since the accident, and losing his work seems like losing everything his father established for them. Sharko hears music and sees odd women while talking. Sharko opens the door to see the image of the lady standing there. She enters and feels the empty tank, proving to Sharko that she is the mermaid with a message for the sea. Everyone thanks Sharko for protecting them and being the only one who understands how harmful the oil is. To thank Sharko, the mermaid kisses him and cures his wounds. Sharko and the mermaid dance to Frank Sinatra and make up on the sofa. As he tells the mermaid thousands of fishing tales, he pulls off his shirt to show off his new muscles. Sharko informs her that he no longer wishes he had perished when he fell off the boat now that he has someone who loves him. Sharko spots automobiles in front of his residence some hours later. He orders the mermaid inside while he investigates. Sharko seems scared, showing he has been hallucinating. The fishermen, who came because Breezy informed them about the mermaid, own the automobiles. Since they caught nothing, Sharko was correct about the sea. They believe Sharko should capture the mermaid as a Groot to sell her and earn food again. Sharko fires the earth to frighten them away when his no fails. He repeats that he is the Water King and threatens to shoot them all. Fearful fishermen depart. Sharko returns to the tank where the mermaid is swimming. Her music still drives him wild, and he can still hear her concern in his thoughts. Sharko promises the mermaid they will always be together and invites her to swim. Sharko imagines them diving into the sea together at the beach as he climbs the ladder to the tank. He climbed the staircase and leaped into the tank, where the mermaid caught and ate him. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. Was a soldier on duty in Kenya when he got a word that a group of armed men had taken over a building. Apparently, it was also a delicate hostage situation. Ray knew it was going to be dangerous, but he didn't let that stop him from getting the job done. He stood by the door while his squad mates took cover behind him. Then suddenly chaos broke loose. The bad guys inside started shooting at them through the door. The officer in charge gave Ray an order: hold off on the breach. But instead of following orders like a good little soldier, Ray did something incredible. He threw a flashbang into their hideout, toggled his aimbot, and rushed inside. He shot every last one of those bad guys with pinpoint precision before making his way up to find the hostage. Once there, the bad guy demanded a helicopter. Ray obliged. But if he was going to call one in, he needed a phone, so the guy helpfully pointed one out with the shotgun. With the hostage now safe for just a moment, Ray springs into action, whipping out his Glock and taking care of business with the hostage secured. Ray looks down and finds he is wounded. Darn, and he almost got the no damage taken achievement too. When Ray came home from his mission, he was ready to see his wife and told his fellow soldiers that right there was what they were fighting for. Yes, his wife specifically, and he was ready to embrace her. His wife was a beauty, and they immediately celebrated his return with her. The next morning, Ray woke up alone and confused. Relatable. He fell around in the bed until he found a note that said, "I'm going out for breakfast." Ray washed up in the bathroom, then heard something coming from outside. Armed men broke into his room and spotted Ray's reflection through the mirror. They rushed in, but he fooled them with the old bathroom mirror. Bamboozle Bunny, and said they all proceeded to fight in an awfully cut Gionic sequence. To cap it off, this guy punches Ray in the arm. It's not very effective. Then he stumbles out of his room in search of his wife Gina. He bumps into an innocent-looking guy, but then gets all woozy and collapses. The now not-so-innocent guy looms over Ray holding a needle. When Ray awoke, he had no idea where he was. He just knew that his hands were tied behind his back, and the room he was in was not friendly for vegans. Then a man appeared at the back of the room, the same man. He dons a dricked-out outfit before dancing towards him. Smooth. The man asked him who told him about the hostages in his previous mission, but Ray stays silent. So to up the stakes a little, the man brings out today's guest, Ray's wife. Now Ray is a bit more talkative, but still has nothing substantial to say. He claims he doesn't know, and just goes where his supporters tell him to. The man ends up believing. Ray relief wash over his face. But then, never mind, rip in peace. Ray is livid. But then he too goes to sleep forever until he wakes up again in a futuristic lab. Ray's eyes fluttered open, and he was overwhelmed with the unnecessary but cool lighting scheme of the room. He spots a woman, and her chest is more eye-catching than the usual variety. Later, Ray fully comes to and is visited by Dr. Emil Harding, and his assistant is the woman he already met, Katie. The doctor breaks the news Ray died, but they brought him back to suffer more in the land of the living. He doesn't believe it for a second, but when asked what his name is, he can't even remember. Emil is giving Ray a tour of the facility. Here, they create robotic tech for the military, like bionic limbs and exoskeletons. He gestures to a room full of machines that look like they belong in a laboratory from a sci-fi movie. Oh wait, Dr. Harding states that Ray is the greatest creation yet. Then he cuts Ray's hand with his cable, but only to demonstrate the remarkable capabilities of the nanites inside him. Not gonna lie, he had us in the first half. Ray looks down at his hand in awe. The nanites move around like insects, working swiftly to repair his skin. Not so much as a scar is left behind, but his emotional damage is still hurting. Dr. Harding implores him to forget the past and consider the possibilities of the future. In his case, he lost his arm to cancer, and with it his career in tennis, so he invented robo-arms instead, which is way cooler. Right after Dr. Harding takes ready to meet some other enhanced soldiers who are just as weird as he is. One of them has bionic eyes on his chest, and the other has bionic legs that help him run really fast. And of course there's Katie, who can breathe through a hole in her chest. Weird flex. But okay, instead of feeling inspired by all this, Ray comments that they're all a bunch of wounded soldiers, damaged goods. He goes up to his room to sleep and has nightmares about his wife, The memories are slowly coming back. Ray wakes up and decides to channel his frustration into something productive. He goes to the gym to blow off some steam, but instead of punching a bag, he punches through it. He's pretty proud of this new ability, but then realizes that he can't really use it effectively in a boxing match because you kill the other guy, so instead he tries out his new power on a concrete column, using it as a punching bag. The concrete begins cracking under the force of his blows. Ray busts out some more combos that doesn't look very safe. Ray finishes with a fantastic set of curls for the females. And just on cue, Katie swims next to him and does underwater karate, which looks nice but is not really useful in fighting. After drinking, a low pulsing sound fills the room. Katie grimly stares at a device on the wall, and Rhys starts having vivid flashbacks of his wife and starts speaking the same words he did when he lost her. He snaps out of it, but now he knows what he needs to do: escape the facility and seek revenge on Martin X, the man who clapped his wife. But Dr. Harding would not let him. "Your body belongs to me," he told Ray through his built-in brain Bluetooth. An interesting choice of words. Ray says, "No, I do what I want." And with that, he used his cybernetic abilities to hack Martin's location, and then he stole a plane, and then he downloaded the flight manual to his brain, and finally he set this truck on a collision course for Martin for no reason other than it looks cool. The truck was filled with flour. Ray emerges and fires at Martin's car. The bulletproof glass is unfazed, but Ray is not. He gets popped and collapses to the ground, but not before placing a thermite canister in the car. It melts into the engine, disabling it. Ray recovers with his nanobot powers and bestows a beat down on Martin's henchman. He bends this guy's arms backwards, and even Martin is like, "Whoa, that wasn't called for." Meanwhile, Barton calls his buddy, and it seems like they were expecting this attack. As prepared as they were, they still underestimated the power of family. Ray returns from his vengeance mission and is picked up by his fellow warriors. He tells Katie he did what he had to do and is done. Katie claims she is too confused. Ray asks. Dalton blows up Ray's car, and they all walk away from the explosion without looking back because it is cooler that way. We cut to the lab, where Ray tries to get up, but has his motor functions disabled. Dalton proceeds with an expositional dump about the true nature of this arrangement. You see, he hates having to be Ray's babysitter, but this is always his favorite part. He leans into Ray's ear and tells him that Gina is alive. Ray cannot respond, but his eyes. Dalton says they use Ray's vengeance to kill their targets. He is basically a deadly wind-up toy soldier as his memory is wiped. We pan over Dr. Harding, and he confronts Katie for going off script when she said, "I am done too." We learn that if she leaves this facility, her breathing gets turned off. She is reminded that this is the choice she made, but she just wishes Ray had a choice too. Katie is dismissed. Ray escapes again to kill his latest victim, Nick Barris. Dr. Harding and the others act out their lines. But Dalton gets tired of the repetition, representing the audience, speeding things up. Ray heads to Nick's fortified compound and plays dead. Then they let him in. Nick speaks with his tech guy, Wiggins, who has a device that will save the day, but Nick's not a great boss. He kidnapped Wiggins and forced him to work for free, so Wiggins is sparse on details on how to use the device, which we soon learn as an M. Ray closes in, but the bullets are no match for his. Ray kills Nick as he waits for the M to power up. Dr. Harding is glad the alarm did not go off and his last challenge has been overcome, or has it? The EMP goes boom, the lights go out for a mile, and Wiggins zaps Ray back to life. "I am sorry," as Wiggins explains that he is on his side. Ray recalls all the males who cheered for his wife and realizes that Dr. Harding is his ultimate goal. Ray sends Wiggins a sample of nanite to reverse engineer, and then he gets in a vintage whip that cannot be followed. He finds his wife and greets her, but his reality is gone. Gina went on and had her own family, so Ray disappeared bewildered. Ray leaves and starts driving through the city when an armored truck rams into him. So much for no tracking. The super soldier friends have turned to foes and hunted him down. Well, actually, Dalton kind of always was a jerk. Dalton takes off with great speed while Eye uses drones to get a bird's eye view. Once Dalton catches up, he blasts Ray with anti-nanite bullets that turn Ray's beefy python arm into a little noodle in retaliation. Katie submits that she makes it over to Wiggins' hideout and knocks him out with sleeping smoke, then proves equality is real by beating up these grown men back in the lab. Ray chats with Dr. Harding in a virtual construct, and then we get a solid 30-second flex of this movie's VFX budget. Very cool. Now that all of Harding's targets are gone, Ray will have his nanites extracted and sold off. while Katie returns from her mission and Dalton rubs it in that they caught she invades Ray's fake memories, discloses the reality, and signals Wiggins to take over. She kept them to herself. He fights the other man and wins, freeing her. Ray headed for Harding, but Dalton and Tin have something to say about it. They gear up with their new drip and continue with an anxiety-inducing elevator battle till they beat Ray and he falls off the building, just joking. Ray and Tibbs fall again as Dalton slides down with his bionic arms and breaks the lines. Tibbs begs him to stop, but all he cares about is taking Ray down. Sadly, Tibbs falls due to gravity. Then Ray defies gravity and launches himself towards Dalton, sending them both plummeting down during freefall. Ray powers up by overclocking his nanites, loses his cool tan, and gets some RGB lighting in his chest instead. Then he turbo punches Dalton, rip in peace. Ray's vitals are surging through the roof, so Wiggins urges him to retreat, but he has unfinished business. Ray keeps marching, so Harding throws a grenade at him, scattering the nanites. As Harding prepares to fire again, Ray's cloud of nanites dismantles the round before it reaches him, but he is out of juice. Harding claims victory, but not so fast. Ray's holding the explosive, he drops it, and it lands perfectly. Imagine if it did not land perfectly. He definitely does not survive this. On the contrary, days later, Ray wakes up next to Wiggins, completely healed and memory intact. It turns out they managed to bring him back to life for a second time using the nanites and even added some bonus stamina points. This time, having completed the main quest and reached max level. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. A dinner party outside a home begins the narrative. It is Nick's birthday. Nick's mom addresses his dad's lateness in her speech. Nick rises to cut his face-shaped cake. He is adorable and bikes to school. He did homework for someone at school. After handing the man the assignment, his girlfriend creeps up on him and asks if he can come to a party tomorrow night, but he claims he will be busy. Two men and a female attempt to acquire money from this person who owes them. Pete, Nick's closest friend, was scratched. Nick advises Pete to stand up for himself. Nick defends Pete when he claims he can't. He repays Pete and whispers, "He said, 'You are so broken, dude,' to Annie." Annie caught him after a few seconds. After punching him in the face, they wait to see the principal and have a chat. She tells him he is not better than her since he sells essays. He admits that he's a hypocrite. Then the principal comes and sends Annie home. Then he turns to Nick and tells him to stop wasting his time on lost souls like Annie Newton. "She has no future, you do, don't let us down," he says, and Nick's only reply is, "Can I leave now?" Then we see Annie back home. Her stepmother has made her brother dinner, so she confronts her about it. This causes an argument between her dad and stepmom, but Annie just goes upstairs and makes a sandwich for her brother Victor. Victor asks if she'll be going out tonight, and she says yes. You can see the boy's mood change. Over at Nick's house, we see Pete arrive and tease him about getting beat up by a girl. Relatable. He now asks Nick about that same party, and Nick says he won't even be around by tomorrow. He'll be in London for the writers program. His mom doesn't even know, but he's going anyway. According to him, she's always trying to micromanage him and be on top of everything, but he's not going to let her have this one. Now we see Andy get in a car with her boyfriend Marcus, and they're off to rob a jewelry store, and he smashes the glass, grabs some jewelry, runs back to the Mercedes which Marcus just stole, and he drives off. The next morning, and he gets ready for school and is leaving with the bag. She ignored Marcus' request to leave the bag. He acted after she said he wouldn't. He dialed 911. A rat. Annie placed the bag in her school locker. Pete glared at her as she closed the locker. The officers checked her locker and discovered a jeweler. She was detained. She called Marcus. After the call, she leaves the station determined to avenge the person she was sure handed her in to the police. After Pete says farewell to Nick, we head to Nico's home, where his mom has learned about his London ticket. She confronts him when the airline calls to modify his travel schedule. She points out that he has had the ticket for weeks, so Nick is in his room getting ready to depart. He pockets a watch. Someone hits Pete as he runs. Annie's boys escort him to Annie. She hits him because she feels he has betrayed her. He confesses out of desperation. Nick asked his lady at the party if she wanted to fly to London with him since his flight was delayed. He hands her their ticket and wishes her well. He is not a snake. He believed Nick would have left the country by now. Pete exits the automobile and explains his actions, but no one is listening. He grabs Nick and demands, "Who is broken now?" "You are," Nick says. Nick has balls. They bury him after a couple more blows and a heavy kick to the face kill him. Nick's watch slips unnoticed. Before, Pete was forgivable. He informs Marcus. She says she applauded the man who sold her out, and he has a shotgun mark on his face because he knows it was not him. He is now wondering why she came to him knowing he was on parole. "Annie, why'd you come here?" he asked and sent her away. She feels betrayed. "Wait till you find out that he is the one who sold you out." She smashes some stuff in his workshop, gives him an ironic kiss, and leaves. Then, early the next morning, we see her burning her clothes from last night. You will not believe what we see next. Nick, he walks out of the woods looking clean and fresh, walks to school and sits in class, but no one can see him because he is invisible and relatable, so even though he is sitting right there and can hear everything they are saying, they use that opportunity to say some things about him, including his girl, who calls him pretentious and says he is always trying to make himself feel important. Then he shouts out to his mom. He can hear her talking to the detectives about him, but she cannot hear him. He is running home now. On his way, he clambers into someone in the school hallway, gets hit by a car, and gets run over by a truck. But nothing really happens in real life. He gets home and sees detectives all around his house doing everything to find him. He tries to put his mother out of her misery by telling her he is dead. But of course she can't. The romp is on the roof, questioning what she was doing last night, and Nick is there to monitor her lies. But he also finds out that Annie slapped him because she felt he ratted her out and pushes her off the roof, which does not work. The detectives take a search party out to the woods where Nick's body was dumped, and Annie calls Pete and tells him to be there. Nick hears that and gets visibly sick. He's in his room now, and he can see his mom come in and go through his stuff. She's reading a poem he wrote, and he's reading along with her. His pet bird joins him in Visible Paradise. He holds it in his hands, and after some seconds it disappears. As a revelation for him, he says, "I'm alive." And he runs straight to where his body was dumped. He's trying to get the search party to find him, but he's not having much luck with the humans. The dog, however, first seemed like he could see Nick, but he turned away at the last second. The dog helped find Nick's watch, though now Peter's reporting to Annie and the rest of the gang. He feels they'll soon be found out, so he says he'll go to report to the police, and he tells him if he reports he goes to jail too. Meanwhile, Nick is there listening to everything, and he now sneaks back into her house, and she's trying to pack up her stuff and run away. Victor wakes up and begs if she will go forever like mom. He cries. This guy softens her rock-hard exterior. She wisely advises Victor not to be like her. She leaves when her dad instructs her to, but she promises to return and clap for her younger brother if something happens to him. Choppers and an ambulance join the woodland hunt. Nick has 2 or 3 days left, according to a specialist. Nick's torso and fingers move, proving he is alive. The cop Brian goes to speak with Marcus and asks him if he was with Annie on Tuesday night, to which he replies yes. He then asks him if he was with her the night before when she robbed the jewelry store, to which he replies no. Brian knows Marcus has been on parole for 8 months, but he does not stress that too much. He drops his card and tells Marcus to call him if he sees Annie because he wants to talk to her about a missing person. Nick is yelling at his mom and shaking her, spilling everything on the table and slamming a chair through the window, but none of it really occurs. His mom begins sobbing and yelling Nick's name a few minutes later. Marcus grabs Pete in the downpour and places a pistol to his chest. Marcus lies to Pete about the cops pursuing him. He shows Pete where the corpse was placed in the woods. The following day, Marcus attempts to fool Annie into going to a spot to clap her, but she uses something and phones Pete to go instead. She refused to wake up for Nick. Detective Kate pursued Pete. Pete is on the bridge with the 2 men as Annie watches from a distance, but Marcus arrives from behind her and places a pistol in her back, taking her to the bridge where the rest of the guys are and telling Pete to go home. He rushes home, happy to be asked. Marcus says they have to move fast because Pete has a tail, and he is correct. But the police are already here, and Ethan takes a shotgun for Marcus and points it at the officers, but they are surrounded now. But Annie has one heck of a survivor and climbs out and escapes. Peter Parker would be very proud while she is running away. Nick screams, "We'll catch you, Annie." And it seems like she heard him because she turns around and yells something, so Nick goes, "She heard me." She goes to a club and sells a ring that belonged to Marcus to some guy. After he pays her, she decides to stay back and do a little dancing. She takes off her hoodie and beanie and is now doing the signature white woman dance while Nick is just watching her the next day. Yet she leaves. She sneaks into school at night to place money for Victor in her locker. Nick tells her he is dying and she is the only one who can rescue him. He yells her name in her brain and she turns around but sees no one. She is unhappy, so Nick does not look while she showers. Harry will be ghostly and oversleeping or not sleeping at all. Well, now that we visit Annie and Nick's home, she is going through his old photographs and becoming sentimental. Nick is happy as his corpse decays in that pit. But Nick's mom destroys any romanticism, and he hurries out of the home and directly towards the woods to where they dump Nick's body and Viola. The body is not there. Nick tells Annie that someone moved his body and asks her to thank them. She sees the substances she found with Pete days earlier and realizes that Pete was here, so she goes after Pete at school. Pete tells her that Nick did not even rat her out in the first place, and he confesses that he and Marcus moved the body. She ambushes him in his car outside a police station. Then she takes him to a precipice and tells him to go on his knees for a role reversal moment. Then she points a gun at him while Pete is trying to self-delete. Nick is begging him not to do it, but Pete cannot even hear a thing. But here's the beautiful thing. While Pete is in that transition zone where he is not dead but not fully alive, he sees Nick, and they can see and talk to each other. Nick is now asking Pete where he moved the body at the same time, and he is asking Marcus the same question. They both answer at the same time. After they do, Pete's parents rush into his room and find him in the state he is in, and Annie just leaves Marcus and turns around to go find Nick. But not clapping him turns out to be a bad idea because Marcus stands up and shoots her. She does not die, though she has enough in her to shoot him and stand up and call detect. Kate orders the guards to seal the gates and search for Nick. Everyone rushes to Brian. They hurry him into an ambulance as Annie watches. She gets into her vehicle and blacks out while bleeding. In the evening, a policeman awakens her and orders her out of the vehicle, but she drives away. As predicted, they chase her to the hospital. Nick's mother watches doctors rescue him. Annie gets caught by the police, but Nick's voice in her thoughts whispers, "I need you, Annie, I need you," which motivates her. She accelerates past the police barrier. She takes her turn after parking the automobile. Naturally, the hospital where his body is being operated on, Nick's mother says you have nerve when she sees her. Nick tries to play peacemaker, but Mama can't hear you, so Annie has to do it all on her own. She says she just has to talk to Nick, but Nick's mom lands a slap on her face, and he then tells her that Nick is here, that she can feel him and hear him, that she knows what he wants. Of course, she doesn't believe her, so on Nick's directive, and he tells Nick's mom about that time she was in his room reading his poems and how he was with her, that she now asks Annie what she wants, and then he says she just needs to see Nick, she can help him, but his mom says no, and he hands for her gun and says she knows she can bring him back. She finally lets her go in, and he is now running her fingers through Nick's body. She apologizes to him and begs him not to go. She takes off her necklace, which once belonged to her mom, puts it in his hand while she joins him on the bed and snuggles with him. When she does that, the invisible neck disappears, and the real Nick wakes up and calls Annie's name, and he says she wanted to do one good thing, and Nick tells her she did, she saved him. Then Annie taps out. Then we see Victor playing with a toy plane, and Nick shows up and has a conversation with him. Victor says his sister died, and Nick says they should send her a message. Nick writes and flies Victor's brief message, "Hey Annie," aboard the aircraft. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. 6-year-old Jackson loves his friend. He gives her a marriage certificate to sign. He offers her 2 movie tickets to marry him if she rejects them. She signs the documents but dates another guy with the tickets. 5 older sisters overprotect Jackson. Seeing him distraught, they pledge to shield him from women for life. 15 years afterwards, Jackson is gorgeous but gets little privacy from his sisters. We meet his 5 sisters. Lily, the youngest, is his classmate. Violet is a club archer. She regularly manipulates Jackson. Heaven hacks computers. She hacks the school security to watch her brother. Melody, Jackson's second oldest sister, teaches high school. Sarah is the oldest. Everyone fears her quick temper. Their parents split years ago, leading the daughters to raise their brother and each other. Jackson is bored of his sisters following him around at school. He hides in a camouflage costume his pal produces. Jackson hides in a girl's shower locker. Ming, a fresh girl, discovers him and leads him to academic activities. Jackson enjoys misbehaving as long as his sisters do not know. After school, he cautiously heads home, hoping Melody was not notified. He expresses satisfaction when no one discusses the day's events. Melody quietly mentions him in the ladies' locker room during supper. Sarah's crimson face draws attention. They pull Jackson across the floor next. He is hanging upside down and asks why he is in the female locker room. To avoid heartbreak, the girls ban him from talking to women. They believe the extreme way is best for Jackson, but he disagrees. He finally responds by saying he needs to date a woman. Sarah calmly challenges him to find a partner that matches all of his sister's energy. Jackson accepts the challenge. He posted a girlfriend ad the following morning. His buddy recommends talking to Meng, the new lady who appears to want to assist everyone. Meng helps people with unnecessary tasks in a montage. Jackson agrees to date her despite his inexperience with females. Thus, his wingman brags about Jackson to Meng. He mentions all his sister's abuse and labels Jackson a victim. Meng sympathizes with the stories. She approaches Jackson to make acquaintances but decides not to look at him. Someone announces that a wild bear attacked the kids. Jackson saves everyone, but the bear is a plush toy. He is hospitalized when the toy pushes him down the stairs. Jackson awakens in a hospital bed with Meng. He gets extra time with Meng even if the plan fails. She befriends him. Two of Jackson's sisters come and taunt him for not taking care of himself. Meng scolds them. She calls herself Jackson's girlfriend, shocking the females. Jackson jumps in astonishment. His sisters casually inquire whether he has a girlfriend at home. He smirks and does not answer. Until his oldest sister Sarah questions him about Meng. The sisters again bind him upside down, doubting he'll get a girlfriend in a day. The girls do not believe Jackson's love at first sight claim. They evaluate Meng's suitability for their brother. Violet, Melody, and Lily attack school the next day. Jackson prevents Violet's arrow from hitting Meng while they are together. Meng deems the girls cruel. They confront each other. Lily intervenes when Violet's technique fails. She blackmails all the attractive boys in school to ask Meng out. She fails to win Meng over to Jackson. Jackson rescues Meng. Violet shoots again as they rush down the passage. This time she throws a bomb. It explodes midair, mercifully without harming anybody. A guy prepares new explosives in a chemical lab as everyone is puzzled about the incident. He protected Meng from Violet for unknown reasons. Jackson and Meng eat popsicles on the deck after the accident. Jackson discovers that Meng is pretending to be his girlfriend because she believes his sisters want his organs. He avoids correcting her to keep her in the dark. Lily and Violet shamefully accept defeat at home. Heaven, a computer expert, destroys Meng. She lies about Meng being a bad person by collecting random CCTV videos from school. The power goes out before she posts it online. The chemist is outside their home. He cut the electricity to rescue Meng, but his motives remain unclear. The three unsuccessful sisters kneel before Melody, the second oldest, inside the home. She must eliminate Meng. She challenges Meng to a sports competition tomorrow. They compete in gazing and goldfish collection. Melody triumphs and humiliates Meng. Sarah, the oldest sister, comes just before the last round. She introduces herself and challenges Meng to a hammer throw. They must toss the hefty metal ball far. Sarah hovers over the ball. She takes another ball from the stand to toss. A key emerges from the ball, indicating that it was laced with an explosive that would detonate soon. Meng grabs the ball from Sarah and throws it. Sarah discovers she survived as it explodes. The other sisters appreciate her once she likes Meng. Jackson thanks God for Meng. A Jackson-Meng montage follows the scene. After numerous dates, they become genuine. They grow to like each other. They enjoy a lovely night together on a deserted beach. They play fight and cuddle in the morning. The chemist keeps watching them. He is furious at the embrace but does not act. Jackson and Lily are at school the following day. Lily opens an exploding lunchbox. A huge explosion rattles the school. Jackson is oak, but Lily needs CPR to wake up. Everyone survived the chemical blast. Meng sees Jackson and his sisters huddled in terror and knows they adore each other. Jackson follows her away. Meng overlooks him and the fact that he might have perished sooner when they collide. Jackson does not ask her what is wrong. Meng has realized that Jackson and his sisters only began suffering after she started seeing him. She feels she brings bad luck and stays away. Jackson keeps calling her, but she ignores him. The town rained fiercely one night. Jackson watches the flood news at home. He last saw Meng at the school, waiting for the rain to cease. He runs to school and finds her stumbling in the rain. Jackson embraces her, imploring her to return to her regular self. But Meng unwillingly pulls him away. She wants him to remain away until she transfers schools again. A hurt all night, Jackson reigns. He hears someone coming from behind in the morning. He embraces Meng. The guy has been making bombs until now. He kidnaps Jackson. The school has a celebration that night. While Meng pouts, everyone enjoys the performance. Jackson's absence tensions the sisters. They locate his phone while pursuing him. A mysterious masked guy enters the stage after fireworks. He kidnapped Jackson and chained him to a rocket he promised would fly away. He says he has no friends and is invisible. When asked why he hates, he was obsessed with Meng. Despite saving her from Jackson's sisters, Meng adored only Jackson. Thus, he seeks vengeance on Jackson for stealing his only happiness. The sisters, Meng, and several of Jackson's pals struggle to stop the rocket. It ceases briefly after their victory. Jackson tells Meng he loves her before flying. He jumps and explodes. Meng stands next to a grave. She gives flowers and praise. Jackson rushes into the screen, showing he was only hurt in the last collision and his oak save for a broken hand. The long-dead Meng's mother is buried there. In the last scene, the sisters torment Jackson as usual. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. Zachariah resides in a post-apocalyptic world as most of the world's resources are lost to radiation. Her only companion is her dog Pharaoh, and they spend all their time together on her family's farm. She leads a very routine life, mostly gathering food and setting traps for stray animals. One day she comes across an ant and Pharaoh follow him to a nearby waterfall where John baits himself, knowing that the water is contaminated, and instructs him to get out of the water. But John is shocked to see her. Instead, he points a gun at her and fires it elsewhere, thinking that she does not come in peace. Finally, John listens to Anna and gets out of the water. The water sickens him immediately, making him rush back to his wagon for some medicine. With Anne's help, John regains his strength. After the medicine is injected into him, not only does she rinse him off, but she also welcomes him into her home while John rests, and brings the wagon and sees pictures of John and a woman who might have been his wife for days. John is bedridden, but it makes sure that he receives the care he needs. One night, she hears her poor visitor have a nightmare, and she comes to his room to comfort him as he sleeps. John grows weaker by the day and then sympathetically looks at him by the bedside. She sincerely prays for John's recovery and desperately wishes for him to stay with her. Remarkably, John's health starts to improve, slowly becoming part of Anne's rural life. Both of them humbly talk about life before the apocalypse. While Anne shows a picture album of her family, she is left alone after the rest of her family members set a journey to find other survivors, but they never returned, and especially misses her younger brother, who she was extremely close to. So she shows John a picture of him as an engineer. John theorizes that Anne's farm is sheltered from radioactive contaminants because of the rocky hillsides and favorable weather patterns. After their conversation, Anne gets up and hugs John, a gesture she has not done in such a long time. The following day, John comes out of the house to watch and work around the farm and notices an old tractor. According to Anne, she ran out of gas last year and has not used it since John instructed her on how to manually pump gas from an abandoned station nearby. With his knowledge about machines, she follows his instructions written on paper and eventually succeeds in acquiring sufficient gas, making the long-disused tractor finally run at dinner. John and Anne spend the next day by the pond, where she offers him fresh fish, something he has not had in a long time, while John enjoys his sumptuous meal and recalls the last winter when she almost froze and starved to death because her generator was broken and she could not stock up on fish and other food in the fridge. Hearing she has a generator, John offers to fix it, hoping it will help them. John believes that they could utilize the contaminated waterfall as a source of hydroelectric power. It could work with the water, well constructed from the church's planks and woods, which means that the holy building should be demolished to get the parts, and becomes uncomfortable with his proposal, claiming that her father built it and preached there every Sunday. The building is more than just a structure to her, as it holds deep sentimental value. After persuading in a couple of times, John eventually decides not to pursue the project. For the following days, they work together around the farm to supply food and other resources. At this point, they both see flaws in each other, rooted in their work ethic and spiritual beliefs. In the abandoned mini-mart, and sees John drunk with empty bottles of beer surrounding him. John mocks her for consuming all of the sweet stuff on the shelves, but not the beers on the fridge. Despite this, and helps him get up and brings him home to rest. As she removes his dirty clothes, John becomes agitated and shouts at her for helping him too much. He repeatedly says that he does not need her help at all, even pinning her against the wall. Anne's timid nature is shaken, as she has never interacted with behavior like John's in the past, making her walk out of the room fearfully, realizing that he is at fault. John offers his sincere apology in the morning, which Anne accepts willingly. They continue to work together as if nothing happened the night before. At dinner, Anne surprises John with a bottle of wine, which they share. After a couple of glasses, both of them become tipsy and dance together in the living room. The moment becomes gradually intimate, which leads to their very first kiss. John and Anne head upstairs and arrive on the verge of engaging in a sensual relationship, but he hesitates because he thinks being intimate with Anne will completely change things between them, but does not change the fact that he likes her. He also adds that they need more time to get to know each other before cuddling in the same bed. On a regular day of monitoring the farm, she notices changes in her traps, and Pharaoh is more excited when Caleb shares that he walked 50 miles from a mine in search of food and other resources. He is welcomed on the farm, but John says he has to camp outside for the time being as he picks up radiation along the way. Anne's kind nature could not stand leading anyone outside while she enjoyed the comforts of her home, so she invited Caleb inside, and they shared a meal and told stories about the horrors of the apocalypse. John says that before arriving at the farm, he found a sickly teenager covered in dirt and tried to take care of him, but his body was too weak. The boy begged him to kill him out of mercy, which he did. Caleb shares a traumatic experience inside the mine he was trapped in during his first week, where he saw multiple men kill each other due to their terrible conditions. After the meal, John gives Caleb a tour of the house. John sits with Anne at the table and reveals that the boy he killed is Anne's lost brother. Anne is speechless and cannot look him in the eye as she fights back tears over the shocking news. The next day, John and Caleb go turkey hunting. While walking around, Caleb stresses his spiritual connection with Anne and recommends a light-hearted wager in her favor, which John does not like because of his serious and logical attitude. Caleb is more laid back and easygoing. Both of them walk to the nearby waterfall, where John explains the canceled project about the water wheel that could be a power source. Over dinner, Caleb brings up the water wheel project, which John feels uncomfortable with. She explains that the building holds a place in her heart, but she's now open to rebuilding something else. John tells him that she does not have to push through with the water whether she isn't ready yet, pressured by Caleb's remarks, and gives a go signal on tearing the church down for materials. The next day, work commences on the water wheel project as they gather wood from the sacred building. Slowly, the building becomes a structure until there is nothing left of it but a distant memory of Anne's father while working on it. Anne and Caleb start having a bond between them, which John immediately notices. They start exchanging glances that hint at their attraction toward each other. As the project progresses, so does their closeness. After the demolition, Caleb and Anne walk in the woods and end up in the nearby cave. They talk about their shared faith in the Christian religion, claiming that it is the only thing that gets them going. As they arrive back on site, John has already made a lot of progress in constructing the water wheel. The simple structure gives them more hope that life in this post-apocalyptic world could improve in the simplest ways. Seeing the attraction between Anne and Caleb, John awkwardly gives her consent to be in a relationship with Caleb. When she defends herself, John makes a discriminating remark and says that he will not stand in her way of exploring with someone else. His words of unsolicited advice thrown off, making her walk out of the room. All three of them spend the next days constructing the water while around the contaminated waterfall. After remarkable progress, they hold a celebratory dinner as a big break from their accomplishment. After a couple of drinks, they decide to plunge into the pond where they continue to have fun. When it becomes too cold, they decide to return to the house and end the night. Not long after, John tearfully expresses his love for Anne, which she finds difficult to believe. She holds hands with the intoxicated John on the way home and guides him as he passes out in bed, and hears Caleb still awake in his room from the hallway, so she walks toward it hoping that he would notice. Caleb expectantly opens the door and welcomes her inside before they make love. After days of exchanging flirty looks at daybreak, the tension grows in the once peaceful household because of the unofficial love triangle. As Caleb makes his way to the porch to sit with Anne, John immediately gets an idea of what happened the night before. Later, John and Caleb finish the water wheel structure and move the flume into place above the waterfall. While John is in charge of keeping the ropes in place, Caleb does the riskier job of securing the flume, and the project turns out well, making them smile and forget their rivalry for a moment while cramped in a hazmat suit. Caleb slips during the rope-assisted climb, but John pulls him up just in time as he gathers the ropes for safekeeping. Caleb slips on the mossy surface again, but John pulls him again, but John stops the pull, and the two men intently lock eyes while Caleb still teeters on the edge of the cliff. Right after John returns to the house alone, "Hi sexy, come and watch till the end." High school party opens the film. MIT admits 17-year-old Rhoda Williams, celebrating with her beau. After observing Jupiter's quick succession in a NASA Journey photo, she fell in love with space research. Rhoda feels unstoppable. She drives drunk late at night, listening to the radio report that a new planet with a moon like Earth has emerged in the solar system. The planet surprised scientists. The radio tells listeners to gaze north to see the planet, which is visible from Earth. Rhoda drives fast when inebriated. A 3-person family is in a roadside automobile. The parents giggle when the child calls his robot Bob. The mother is pregnant while they converse. Rhoda's vehicle strikes them, ending their chat. She is aware. She exits her automobile to find the couple asleep in the other car. She turns around and finds the child lying motionless on the ground. Police sirens sound as the screen turns dark, revealing the newly discovered planet. Rhoda is arrested and displayed in a cell. 4 years later, Earth 2 is now closer to Earth and looks like a copy, according to a news source. Earth's surface now shows it. From the telescope, its continents, seas, and cities seem like Earth's. Scientists received radio signals from the planet. It remains undeciphered. Some scientists think the planet is a cosmic mirror mirroring Earth. Rhoda leaves jail 4 years after the disaster. Her parents bring her up after her first outing. Her brother discusses an essay contest sponsored by rich entrepreneur Keith Harding, who is sponsoring the first space journey to Earth 2 when discussing the second planet. The most motivated citizen gets a free ticket. Rhoda returns home and checks her room. She no longer likes the place or herself. The second Earth in the sky fascinates her. Rhoda then checks up the United States Enterprises program her brother mentioned on her laptop. She must submit an essay explaining why she wants to travel to get the civilian ticket. She looks at the laptop without typing. She moves to the attic and proclaims it her new room. A night sky image decorates her bedding. Rhoda applies for jobs the next day. As an ex-convict, she cannot attend MIT or any other college. Rhoda wants a job without people, but the office woman gives her one. She janitors at her former high school. The following day, she becomes a janitor. 4 years after the accident, Rhoda investigates the tragic junction. Automobile stops close and a guy exits. Rhoda recognizes the man from the other automobile. She is astonished since she believes she murdered everyone. In commemoration of his kid, the dad drives away with a robot toy in the pool. Rhoda hurries home and checks the case on her laptop. He is John Burroughs. The vehicle tragedy killed his wife and kid, but he was in a coma. He woke up years later and has lived alone since. She believes he left Yale's music faculty after additional investigation. She takes his address and meets him tomorrow. She watches him drink in his dirty living room through the window, unsure what to do. Snowy night. Rhoda is upset by her guilt and John's condition. She gently undresses on snow. She lays nude and shivering. As she sleeps in the cold, her hypothermia blue fingers gazing at Earth 2. Black screen. She lays in a hospital bed next. She was rescued from the cold. Her fingers are hurt but not deadly. She prepares an essay to apply for a ticket to Earth 2 after returning home. She writes that madmen, misfits, and orphans were the subjects of prior experiments, not nobility. As a criminal, she feels she is the best candidate for this experiment. After completing her essay, she buys candy at a grocery store and runs into her high school sweetheart. He admits to business school and presents her to his girlfriend. When Rhoda says she is a janitor, he seems uneasy. She leaves without the candies, humiliated by her existence. Rhoda visits John again because she has to apologize. She knocks on the door but is too frightened. Instead of confessing to killing his family, she pretends to be a Maidenhaven maid on a free trial. John agrees to let her clean the home after months of neglect. Rhoda accepts the falsehood because she is too invested. John sees her inspecting a telescope while cleaning. After she finishes, John, unaware of her identity, invites her to clean again next week. Rhoda practices telling John the truth all week. However, uneasiness returns when she knocks on his door. She cleans his home again without speaking. She starts seeing him weekly. John seldom speaks to her. Rhoda and her family watch a live broadcast of a scientist attempting to contact with Earth 2 one night. She gets a signal and discovers that the scientist from the other world is chatting. She shares her name, date, location, employment, and childhood recollections. Worldwide amazement. Everyone now thinks Earth 2 is a mirror world with the same population. Rhoda leads her residents to see the planet and moon. News has sparked a major discussion about truth and lies. Physicists believe Earth 2 is a perfect replica of our world, including its population. Some think we may meet and converse to our identical twin, who has had a different life. John and Rhoda like space science. Rhoda accepts his telescope. They play video games and seem to be dating. John takes Rhoda home. John and Rhoda become closer each day. They eventually discuss the first Earth 2 trip. Rhoda informs him about the article she wrote, but John is suspicious about the excursion. Since humans still think they are the center of the universe, he says they are not ready to acknowledge their uniqueness. When Rhoda washes his wife's sweater, John becomes furious. He furiously orders her out. A radio discussion warns of Earth 2's perils. Some think a battle between worlds is likely since Earth 2's inhabitants have comparable weaponry and are suspicious. John's automobile greets Rhoda at home. She accepts his apology for his past actions. He demands she accompany him. He performs a new style-based work for her at a university auditorium. The performance strengthens their bond. They return to John's. Sex follows. John informs her about his injury and years-long coma afterwards. Rhoda refuses to inform him. Rhoda's brother informs her the spaceflight phone when she gets home. She phones back and is astonished when billionaire Keith Harding answers. He informs her she won the essay contest and will go to Earth 2. Rhoda brags to John. After praising her, John encourages her not to go since they are getting along. He fears Rhoda's future. She realizes she cannot lie to him forever. She ultimately confesses to causing the disaster that night. John's dumbfounded. He sits down and begs her to go. News media surround her home as she returns. Since her fortunate ticket circulated, people are digging into her background and advertising the accident. Her father saves her and takes her inside. United Space Ventures gives her an Earth 2 ticket. Rhoda hears a scientist's idea on TV a few days later. He claims that before Earth 2 became apparent to us, its inhabitants lived a mirrored existence. 4 years ago, the incident altered people's actions and maybe their futures. Rhoda now doubts her mirror self on the other world caused the disaster. She runs to John's home with the airline ticket, but he would not let her in. Rhoda slips into his residence via the window, determined. John chokes her after seeing her. He wrestles her free. She gets up and tells him the hypothesis she heard. She says his family may still be alive if the catastrophe never occurred. Rhoda gets him the ticket to locate his wife and kids on Earth 2. Rhoda resumed her usual life. She feels better after apologizing to John. Rhoda watches John in an interview before the shuttle launches. He accepts her offer and goes to Earth 2. Rhoda walks home from work 4 months after the first shuttle blasted off and is shocked to see herself from Earth 2. The movie finishes with two identical Rhodas staring at each other. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. New York City author Jennifer Hills wrote her second book in Louisiana. She picks up the cabin keys at a store on the way. Earl gives her keys and directions at the store. Jennifer's vacation is for writing serenity. Jennifer stops at a gas station to seek directions when she gets lost. Johnny, an attendant, directs her there. Jennifer accidentally presses her panic button, scaring Johnny. His buddies Andy and Stanley giggle as he spills a pail of fluid. Johnny looks embarrassed as Jennifer drives off. Jennifer arrives at the cabin, her home for months, after a lengthy drive. She promptly unpacks, ready to move. After days of book writing, Jennifer rests by the lake the next day. She ignores strange sounds. The sounds return, making her nervous. Jennifer checks the shed across the way and discovers only poison vials. She washes her clothing after spilling her drink. An unknown individual is surreptitiously filming her half naked. The next day, she runs into the woods and finds an abandoned cottage. Jennifer peeks inside out of curiosity. She keeps going because nothing interests her. She calls Matthew, a plumber, after finding her sink and toilet blocked at home. He stutters due to mental illness. Jennifer kisses Matthew after he restores her bathroom. Shy Matthew flushes and hurries out. Andy, Stanley, and Johnny like killing birds in the woods. Stanley, who loves randomness, records the savagery. Matthew comes shortly after and tells the group about Jennifer kissing him. Johnny doubts him, but Stanley proves it by presenting a video of her in underpants. Jennifer is concerned by the scary home sounds at night. She discovers just a dead bird outside her door. She sees the group picture on her laptop when she returns inside. She is horrified until she realizes they are inside. Johnny, Stanley, and Andy harass Jennifer, scaring her. Johnny brings Matthew inside to join their plot when Stanley calls. Johnny leaves the others in threatening and drinking Jennifer. Johnny becomes angrier when she refuses, forcing her to comply. He then pulls Jennifer closer and asks for her teeth. Johnny draws a revolver and kisses Jennifer. While Johnny watches, Andy does the same with booze. Jennifer pepper sprays Stanley after hitting Andy's leg. She can flee to safety in the woods. Jennifer and Earl encounter Sheriff Storch. Jennifer tells the guys tearfully about her previous attack. Storch's badge reassures her that she is protected. The sheriff tells Earl to go home because he will take Jennifer to the cabin. Storch then drives Jennifer back to the cabin to face the gang. He boldly shoves them out while searching the cabin. Storch discovers Jennifer's joint and smashed beer bottle. Despite her pleadings, he interrogates Jennifer. He thinks she should not lie about the guys he has known since childhood. Storch then pats Jennifer while facing the window. As the lads enter, he unlawfully touches her, exposing Storch as the group's collaborator. Storch instructs Jennifer to kneel with a shotgun. Johnny lifts her up and orders Matthew to undress. Jennifer is at risk of death with 5 callous guys. Matthew forces himself on Jennifer while Stanley records. Jennifer escapes the cabin despite being weak. She finds the gang again in the woods and suffers more. Andy submerges Jennifer's head twice in a puddle. Storch strips and forces himself on her while she lies on the ground. Jennifer wakes up covered in mud when the men turn on her. Jennifer rises again to search the woods for aid. She reaches the bridge as the 5 guys pursue her, still unhinged by her ordeal. Jennifer jumps into the river just before Storch shoots her, disappearing. They cannot find her corpse. Instead, they erase evidence, notably Stanley's recordings. Storch arrives home to his wife and kid, Chastity, after a busy day. He stays home without regret, as if nothing had occurred. The following day, Storch brings the cabin keys to Earl's store, stating that Jennifer fled without warning. The gang lives normally for weeks. Matthew is the only one who regrets staying in the woods. He sees Jennifer eerily gazing at him. Matthew hides his eyes in terror and thinks Jennifer is haunting him. Stanley runs toward Andy and Johnny as they drink. He worriedly tells the voice that his camera was taken and that he retained the problematic footage. Johnny rages and beats Stanley for putting them in danger. Johnny hears sounds outside and finds a dead bird on his doorstep that night. He starts it before entering. He returns inside and hears it again, bringing a rifle. The dead bird appears again on his doorstep, unidentified. Johnny runs outside to discover Jennifer's shoe on the porch and attempts to track the sound again, but he fails. When Storch gets home, his wife tells him a delivery has arrived. He is pleased that his wife and daughter have not seen Stanley's tape. Storch races to meet the apprehensive group. Storch immediately threatens Stanley, believing he is pranking him. Johnny presents the slipper to protect his pal, accusing Matthew of everything. Storch gives Earl booze and shoots him while hunting. Earl observes Storch take Jennifer back to the cabin, making him a suspect. Matthew contemplates his activities in the cabin. Jennifer's voice calls him inside. Falling down the stairs knocks him unconscious. He awakens to discover Jennifer seated on the sofa. He sits near Jennifer and apologizes. Matthew clings to her in remorse, crying. Jennifer soothes him, then ties a noose around his neck. Despite gasping, Matthew apologizes, but Jennifer says it is not enough. The gang searches the woods for Matthew when evidence resurfaces. Andy and Stanley find him in an abandoned cabin after several minutes. Stanley searches for Matthew as Andy enters. He is shocked to find Jennifer smirking at him. Stanley jumps on her bear trap and cries for Andy, who is batted. Jennifer smacks Stanley, knocking them out. Jennifer ties Stanley to a tree and films him. She throws a dead rodent in his mouth, making him puke. Jennifer sets up the camera and uses fish hooks to keep his eyes open. Jennifer guts a fish and covers Stanley's face while filming. Crows peck him after smelling the fish's intestines. He bleeds to death when the birds devour his eyes. Andy wakes up bound to planks above a bathtub in the rundown cabin. As Jennifer checks on him, the tub starts filling. Andy begs her to let him go, but she wants to torment him as she did. Jennifer repeatedly submerges his head in water before adding lye and removing a board. Andy must struggle to keep upright but falls into the water. Andy's face burns, killing him. The next day, Jennifer visits Johnny's patrol station. She assaults him in a short skirt. She returns him to the cottage to wreak havoc. Johnny awakens naked, bound to the ceiling. Jennifer rips out his teeth with pliers, revealing his faults. Jennifer puts a pistol to Johnny's lips, as he did to her. He laughs, agitating Jennifer. She chops Johnny's privates with hedge clippers and puts them in his mouth. He dies screaming. Jennifer's last objective is Storch. The sheriff's family calls to say Chastity's instructor is at their house. Jennifer's phone greeting stuns Storch. He rushes home to see Chastity and Jennifer. Storch enters an empty playground without his daughter. He panics and goes back to the patrol vehicle where Jennifer knocks him out. He wakes up in the cabin with a weapon within him. Jennifer brazenly discusses how great Chastity is and how he might abuse a lady. She pushes the weapon further, bringing the sheriff unspeakable anguish. Jennifer says Matthew is alive but unconscious across the room. If Matthew moves, the trigger string around his wrist will murder both men. Jennifer rejects Storch's plea for his life. Jennifer leaves the cabin, unperturbed by his screams. Matthew awakens, asking Storch to calm him. However, Matthew's mental handicap prompts him to panic and accidentally shoot them. Outside, Jennifer celebrates her retribution. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. Dot is deaf and mute. Disability keeps her alone. Since her single father died, Dot's godmother's family has cared for her. Her new godsister, Nina, does not detest Dot since she has never had a sibling. Nina is renowned at school while Dot is an outcast. Nina and her cruel dancers mock Dot about her illness in the opening scene. The guidance director asks Dot to lunch after seeing this. Dot says no and flees to a school restroom stall, her favorite location. She feels protected and less lonely by herself. Nina grabs her in a fury to go home. Nina's mom, Olivia, encourages her to make Dot feel at home, but she does not care. She does not owe Dot anything since she did not take her in. Paul, Nina's dad, discovers Olivia asleep in the living room. She is depressed and an alcoholic. Because of her medications, Paul puts her to bed. When he returns to supper, the girls are uncomfortably silent. He proposes learning sign language for Dot to reduce stress, but Nina cuts him off and leaves. Nina and her pals discuss things again during lunch the following day. Michelle, Nina's friend, mocks her virginity and 17-year-old age. She can date any man, but she is shy. Dot plays piano in the school's vacant music room. She can still play since she practiced while she could hear. Famous Connor hears her play and falls in love. He stares at her until his buddy advises him to stop. Dot sees Nina again in the restroom. Nina forces her to wear lipstick. Just when Dot believes they should come closer, she glances in the mirror and sees Nina dab lipstick around her lips on purpose. Dot misses her father and cannot sleep. She walks outside for air and finds Nina's bedroom door open. She sees Nina and her father Paul in bed. She hurries to her room, disturbed by what she finds. The next day during supper, Nina begs her parents if she may stay at Michelle's. Olivia advises her to depart despite Paul's objections. Nina rubs her foot on Paul's leg beneath the table to persuade him to release her. Paul persists. She contacts Michelle after his silence indicates agreement. Olivia's constant disagreements annoy Paul. He fights briefly before leaving. When Olivia is alone, Dot writes a message asking to go to the movies. Dot accepts Paul's offer of a ride. Nina and her companions in the theater's middle row are alone. The others stop Connor from talking to Dot when he sees her alone. Nina sympathizes with her but behaves indifferently. Dot watches her fall while she shuts her ears to be deaf. She pauses when Dot looks down at her. Dot thinks about Nina all night. When Paul descends, she seems asleep. He strokes her hair and claims to be ill. He appears to realize he is hurting his daughter, yet he cannot stop. He took Dot in, hoping she would keep him out of Nina's room, but it did not work. Next, Dot plays the piano alone at home. Nina watches her play from the corridor after school unaware. Dot curses when a piano wire breaks. Nina gasps as she realizes Dot has been listening. She lies and claims she just got home. The next day, Nina meets Dot for lunch. Nina tells Dot about her father's secret moment. Dot looks confused at her. She is testing Dot, but she is calm. She claims she will murder Paul at night with Michelle's pistol before leaving. She still does not get Dot's attention, but she is worried she is speaking the truth. She plays piano in the music room to forget Nina. She sees Connor peering at her through the door again. He prevents her from leaving when she feels uncomfortable. He invites her out to work on lab research. She reveals to him that the report is done, ruining his plan. The family is eating supper when Connor unexpectedly comes to the door. He invites Dot to discuss the lab report at the library. As Michelle enters, she reluctantly accepts. Nina mentioned Michelle's pistol, so Dot worries she is attempting to murder Paul. Dot and Connor are in a restaurant next. After briefly discussing the findings, he tells her how he feels about her. He imagines having sex with her. He believes she cannot hear him. Dot fears Nina did something horrible as an ambulance approached her home. She rushes home to find everyone safe. She then hears Paul undressing Nina. Dot damages a statue for Nina, who seems fed up with her dad. Paul retires to his room since the noise ends the thrill. Dot slips in and holds Nina as she falls asleep. Nina talks to Dot while ironing her cheerleading costume in the following scene. She burns a toy bear's face to prove she would murder Paul with the iron that night. Dot believes Nina is unaware of her hearing. Thus, she denies hearing her idea. Later, Nina and Michelle support the school basketball team. The coach benched Connor after a few minutes due to his poor play. Connor and Dot swim after the game. Connor talks about his sexual life. Thinking she cannot hear him, Dot abruptly removes her top and makes love by the pool. Olivia advises Nina and Connor at home. She angers Paul by dressing her daughter like a harlot. Olivia undresses and wants Connor to sleep with her, but Connor is no longer interested. Nina arrives home after midnight, exhausted from cheering all day. Paul gets her a pocketbook and attempts to get close. Olivia moves about her room awake. She does nothing to stop her spouse, even though she seems to know. Nina's request to shut his eyes surprises Paul. When he does as she says, she brings a hot iron. Dot arrives home just in time to stop him from burning his face. Nina leaves, claiming pregnancy. Paul is petrified of parenthood. He gives Nina $1,000 for an abortion the following day. Nina then tells Dot she cannot murder him. The school dance is tomorrow. Nina lends Dot a dress. She tells the girls she lied about being pregnant while getting ready. She hopes to depart with $1,000. She hopes to earn a lot of money stripping in the new city. After telling the truth, she put lipstick on Dot again without clowning her up. Later, Paul discovers tampons in Nina's purse. He thinks she is lying about being pregnant since she has not had her period in 6 weeks. He presents the tampon and asks her to explain. He rejects Nina's lies. He hits her face and tries to get near her. Olivia ignores her daughter's anguished cries. Dot hears the screaming and wailing. She stops playing, pulls a piano wire out, and goes to her room. She ties Paul up with wire and shouts at him to leave Nina alone. She pauses, and he dies. Nina's astonished. Olivia rants at Dot for murdering her dad. Dot's speech surprises her more than her husband's death. Michelle rings the doorbell simultaneously to pick them up for the school dance. The females immediately changed and bagged their bleeding garments. To seem normal, they carry the bag to school. Dot dances with Connor at school, but she is distracted. She conceals the bag in the bathroom during the party. Olivia stares blankly at Paul's corpse in the bedroom. She was over him. Long time. She wishes she had saved her daughter from him. When Dot turns around, Connor is startled. She hears him. He also discovers that she knows everything unpleasant about him. She lied and invaded his privacy, so he believes she is insane. Dot apologizes, but is rebuffed. She concentrates on other things since she knows he will not give her a chance. She takes Nina from the lavatory to a nearby brook. They buried the garments in bag to dispose of the corpse later. Nina inquires about Dot's deafness. Dot claims she wanted to be like her deaf, silent father. The girls rush home and discover the ultimate surprise. Olivia is handcuffed as police surround their residence. Olivia tells them she murdered Paul. She apologizes to Nina too. Nina understands why she must apologize even if the police suspect she murdered her father. The girls watch as Oliva is driven away by the police in the last scene. The end. See you later, sexy. Hi, sexy. Come and watch till the end. After crossing a freshwater wetland, they return home. Cause a fatal 3-car accident. Dad, rest in peace. Kayla is visible. Center Gooters. There was a whiteboard. He woke him by throwing an eraser. Cal wonders why. What would your father do if you do not fail him immediately? Sir, those are combative words. Kale's lawyer appears in court. Mother, teacher, and judge. Kale was shackled for 3 months after his defeat. Strange ankle band 2 officers tag Kale over the summer vacations at home. If he leaves the 100-meter radius surrounding the GPS modem or takes it out, the police will knock on the door. An AC-130 will pass in 10 seconds. As Kale's mother pays the prison money, he leaves the country. Since Kale has nothing to do, we obtain a 3-month home by consuming every minute of every movie show. His mom returns home furious after a week. Discuss room cleaning. Kale washes for hours. Cleaning the home and defeating Red Bull were short-lived. Cale wakes up when he hears a vehicle. He watches the new neighbors move in. Even though he runs when the doorbell rings, he opens it to see a burning piece of paper. He walks into it and realizes his mistake. That is crap. Follows the two offenders. Bustling road. I forgot that. Down and finds his GPS tag broken. Red lights. He rushes home but is too late. After the cops arrive and jail him, he realizes I like Ashley boy. Love in handcuffs trumps Cale. After their initial encounter, she calls Officer Parker to say he is getting off. But not again. He followed his word by mapping the GPS range. Handmade fence to enter the house. Knows where to go suddenly. He watches Ashley get home. Driveway, but beat it I didn't. Hides in the woods before rushing inside to conceal. He walks upstairs to say, "Dude, look at Ashley through the window." Even though there was no internet TV, which is not cool. Cale greets Ronnie's closest buddy at the entrance where they last saw each other. Climbing stairs. About his recent activities. After a few days of boredom, he offers Ronnie spectacles and says he has been observing his buddies. He proves Mr. Pilch belongs. When his wife is away, I am not a stalker, but basic observations are comprehensible the next time you watch. He leads Ronnie to show him in the living room. He loved Ashley. Cale may be observed in a small reach around the conclusion of that day. Ashley appeared and offered to assist, and they spoke. After his mother goes to bed, he watches the news and hears about a suburban crime occurred. If you're bored, watch a late-night program. Yoga flowed instead. Channel he ducks before realizing it is a trap. Dark for her to see him return. Her father interrupts the Ashley show. Room and shouts at her. Disrespectful that the door shut as she went. When he goes to bed, he sees that Mr. Turner returns home late, which is peculiar. As the guy gets back in his vehicle and departs, Cale notices that it is the same as the kidnapper's Mustang with a ding on the front. Cale will make bumper sauce tomorrow. To investigate more, neighbor. GPS modem range. What if his buddy walks up to the fence? Cale is pleased to learn that her neighbor is just getting married. I fought a captured rabbit. Ronnie returns later that day. Look at Ashley heading to another pool. We are swimming. Cale's two-eyed Serrani leans in too far. Both boys fell. She peeked through the glass again, scared that she heard the bang, and Ashley stared at her a few minutes later. Two boys answer the doorbell. After falling down the stairs, tell Ashley what happened. Before she entered Gale's bedroom, are his glasses out? Doing what? It is normal. Luckily, she tells them to monitor Mr. Turner, the suspected cruel tyrant. Texas right, discussed him. Description, but she realizes the defense is fine. Bro, what are you doing? Three teens met that night. Ronnie obtains his uncle's espionage gear and spends the night with them for a stakeout. They stop spawning after a few hours. Mr. Turner is pulling up. He unveils a new whip. He takes his new companion to his vehicle. He suddenly draws a sharp knife and wants to strike it from behind them. Before severing the blood flow, the youngsters were terrified. Instead of her dress's price tag. Less horrible than kidnapping? No way. That murder case splits the gang. Cam walks Ashley home at night. That must be his limit. Before Cale returns to his room. Watching Mr. My son loves Turner now. He observes the lady fleeing the home on the webcam. Begins writing what occurred, however, this dummy left the flash on when it was full, fell to the ground, and hung on. Look around. He gets up and stares through the window. Oh, I am in danger, Cales. He crawls to answer the phone. Picking it up is murder. Explains the issue quickly but glances out the window and sees the girl getting back into her vehicle and driving away. Every man had that one lady who went away. Breakfast Spinach says, "Why are you in my house, neighbor?" Cale's mother enters, pointing to their shopping bags and adding that when she left the store, Mr. Turner, also known as Robert, volunteered to replace her flat tire. No kidding, it helped her. However, his mother realizes she forgot to take the milk home, so she leaves Robert to fetch it. Cale cooks alone. Cale's GPS tracks the robber tracker to learn what happened next. Cale claims he skipped class. Robert discusses his stay and many high school instructors wanted out. Stealthy way Cale's mother brings milk a few minutes later. Robert then negotiates with my dad. A meal out. Ashley has a late day party. Her parents are away. Naturally, Cale continues snooping. After a few minutes, he observes a guy kissing and talking to another guy. After Ashley's no, Cale blasts loud music from his rooftop to end the celebration, but it does not work. Despite his promise to throw away his iPod, Ashley leaps through his window to turn off the music. He claims he spied on them since she moved in, regarding her life's details. He recognized her personality, and Ashley appears to be very into this. When they kiss, it is either the craziest or most touching thing I have ever heard. Boys prefer pretty females. It creeps out strangers. Robert's window is next door, recently been bloody. After hearing loud ideas, they check out their window and see the notorious neighbor Paula. The next day, he flung the bloodied sack down his stairs. They investigate Ronnie's vehicle theft. Ashley followed Robert shopping to see what he bought. Ronnie breaks into Cale's vehicle as his phone rings while traveling home. Ashley assumed you had one job. Cale rushes. Robert returns home. He asked Ronnie for the garage code as Ashley drove. She greets you as she exits the parking lot. Robert says, "You damn millennial boomers." Ashley gathers the three adolescents at home to discuss future steps. Everyone to stop doing it, believing they had gone too far. Before her mother contacted her again, her parents' anniversary appears. "You have two parents." Ashley was flexing my guy. Cale later that night, desperate to get Robert's home designs and study them, constructs the portable camera. Streams to his TV before he leaves. "Grug Kayla, my phone was in his vehicle." If Ron breaks into Robert's garage with a camera, Ronnie finds his shed keys. Cal wants the phone, Sam wants the bag. That stinks," she says, finding the bag in the corner. "If it has hair, do not remove it." Ronnie flees as the garage door closes unexpectedly. To home, Hale grabs a bat and rushes over him as his ankle band bursts. "Damn, they are quick. This weirdo is chatting with my pal." "You lie, boy." Caleb allowed them to inspect his shed. A blue bag contains a dead deer. Robert's automobile struck. Murder, right? Cal's mom scolds him at home. He recalls his court date. He receives a text after she apologizes to Robert tomorrow as Cale watches from his window. Ronnie told him to check. Cal sees Ronnie asleep through the film. "Bro, it was a joke. If you think he is alive, cool out." Buddy Ronnie describes leaving his residence without seeing him. Anything in Cale forgives him and shows him his mother. A video camera to Robert Ronnie to apologize. "About what happened, dude." Drain the main vein while Cale notices something alone. As he understands this, his wife is abducted. Robert hurts mom, but does not care. He plays baseball with Ronnie at Cale's. He attacks Hale upstairs. Cale attempts to unhook the GPS modem, but Robert stops him. Says no, Lettuce puts it his best, but it is not enough. So he runs outside to set off the alarm again, and Robert says no, overpowering Cale knocks him out, and Ken wakes up to a 50 Shades of Grey Robert threatening to beat him in his bedroom. Accuse him of everything. No, dude. His tears are ineffective. He forces Robert to confess, but Ashley invades the residence. Cale's final shot at Robert. Ashley joins us briefly. Assist. Ashley goes to free Cale while he says his mom is vegan. Before he grabs them, the two adolescents rush out of their rooms and into Ashley's swimming pool, setting off the alert. He runs to Robert's residence, smashing the front door. The officer finishes it despite a call to Cale's home. Dude only visited Robert's place once. Hal seeks his mother everywhere. Before finding the crawl space, he smashes the vent beneath the home and enters before realizing heat is too large. He hears a sound from someplace else in the home and knocks on the walls before unlocking a door to a hidden chamber, where he finds an animal. The operation table and numerous big freezers inspire him to kidnap a club girl in a red wig. He clears the cabinet. What would another hidden room cost? The officer hears sounds as he arrives. He murders Robert. Investigate, only to be assaulted and immobilized by Robert Bummer. He re-enters Cale via the hidden room's floor. He plunges into unclean water. Seeing Robert's old buddies was pleasant. He escapes terrified victims. He discovers his mother has the same problem. Robert swiftly kills Kale before 50 Shades of Grey can get rid of her, but his mother's desire to protect him takes over now that you are in control. Before throwing Robert into the hole, Kale tucks his stomach in. After body soup, they kiss as more officers arrive. Kale and his mother leave home safely. Kale gets his officer removed ankle tag. You are the only one who has had one of them taken off early for good behavior. Kale takes his summer vacation with Ashley. The end. See you later, sexy.